Yes, Mudbugs is open today. Mudbugs, 2 locations in Rankin County. This is a good crawfish weekend. Crawfish, shrimp, ice cold Stella Artois. They have Stella on tap. Try one if you haven't. It is delicious beer. And they also have Michelob Ultra on tap at Mudbugs. So Mudbugs is open. I think they're going to open through Father's Day. That's not 100%. So you haven't got much more time to get some crawfish. Either go and get it, pick up to go, or hang out there and enjoy all the festivities and scenery of Mudbugs at the Res and Mudbugs downtown Brandon. Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We're talking scheduling. So I think you're going to see a 1 permanent +7 for a year, maybe 2. And then you're going to see the 3 permanent +6. So you'll add a non-conference game. They may make us even more regional. And everybody dumps the Power 5 non-cons. And that could kind of pigeonhole college football. Those are the 2 knocks for me on the 3 +6. I'm fine with it on Saturdays where we have a loaded schedule. I'm great. Even if Mississippi State and Ole Miss are getting beat up, I do think it's going to be very difficult and even more difficult for the teams outside of Bama, Georgia, and LSU. Those are the monsters. It's pretty simple, their commitment quotient and all that. But those are the 3 powerhouses in the league, even with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. There's no other powerhouse. There are some that have the ability to be a powerhouse, but I don't know what Florida's going to do in the future. I don't know what Texas is going to do. And I don't know what A&M. And I actually think Auburn's got more commitment and drive to be good and a better coach. So, because Bama drives them. I mean, that's what happens in life and competition, right? I mean, Brandon drives Madison Central, and MRA drives Prep, and Prep drives MRA, and State and Ole Miss. The reason why they've gotten so much better the last 30 years in the 3 sports across the board. Y'all don't remember how Blake definitely doesn't even want to lie. I mean, the 80s were, other than Mississippi State baseball, good hell. So, I mean, it was rough. I mean, the 2 teams won 25 SEC basketball games over 10 years in the 80s. So, now, they're look at what Chris Beard and Chris Jans, Beard landed another player in the portal yesterday, but you look at what Beard and Jans are doing in basketball, and at Mississippi State and Ole Miss, you can go, it's already been proven, but you can go to the Final Four, Elite 8, Sweet 16. You couldn't say that in 1981, 82, 83, 84, 85. Y'all know where I'm going. So your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by our friends at all of the Muskelly Sleep Stores and Muskelly Furniture, for that matter. And I have been telling you about, as you know, and I slept on it last night. And after being in the Dominican for 7 nights, I was very happy to get back to my purple mattress from one of the Muskelly Sleep Stores, because it's the only purple grid. And it is their groundbreaking, no-pressure gel technology is the star of every purple mattress from any of the Muskelly Sleep Stores. So that's where we are today. ESPN 105.9 The Zone, the Out of Bounds show. We have Chris Hopwood. Steve Robertson's coming on at 8. I dropped Steve late. We want to do a little local hit. Steve Robertson at 8 a.m. Glad I remembered that, because we have a lot going on today with a food truck coming in, burgers, blues, and barbecue. B3 and hour number 3, cooking some food and bringing it up to this beautiful studio. Steve Robertson at 8 a.m. And then Chris Hoppy Hopster Hopwood, director of the sports book of the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge at 8:30. And then B3 in the 9 o'clock hour. So we're talking They're doing burgers, Dirty Bird wraps, which is the fried chicken wrap that Blake and I love, and onion rings. They may do more than that, I don't know. And we're very excited. I had them out to my neighborhood, which is a lake, a couple of months ago, and they put together a bourbon menu.
Whoa, hello.
And it was incredible. So they don't just do burgers and that. I mean, they're doing a wedding in September at 150 a head. It's insane, the menu he was telling me about.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, what their chef is doing, they're the bourbon balls that they did for us, the bourbon infused brisket. I mean, it was about 30 dudes, maybe 35, and we wanted, kind of a bourbon theme. They're not, and look, their burgers are amazing. Their sandwiches are amazing. Their smoked chicken, it is one of, you can get that as a blue plate every day. But they're doing they showed me some of their menus. It's pretty cool. So the B3 Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue food truck will be here in the 9 o'clock hour, and we'll load up on some good food. Mississippi food. I need it after my Dominican diet
need some grease.
Fries and croissants. And I didn't even eat that much of that. And a salad bar that I found.
That's funny.
Had a great time. Wonderful resort. Wonderful people. Weather was amazing. Blue-green water. But I think I lost about 6 or 7 pounds. So what did I have? Oh, I had mudbug shrimp. I cooked a half of a ribeye that I had left over in the cast iron.
Ooh.
Wendy had done some pasta. The little looks like a butterfly, I guess. Butterfly.
Oh yeah, the bow tie noodles.
Bow tie.
Yeah. Those are my favorite as a kid.
And had sliced up some deer meat and sausage and put in there. And I usually don't do that. I ate all of it. I mean, I ate a little bit of all of it. I'm still like, you know how Lee Pace made fun of me a couple of days? I'm recovering. I this weekend could be a big carb weekend for me.
That's sometimes you gotta do that.
I mean, I usually stay on protein 90% of the time, but it could be a big carb. Do you think I should eat some carbs?
You got carbo load. That's absolutely
carbo load.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay,
absolutely.
You know, when Blue Cross Blue Shield was doing that marathon, they invited me. Oh, speaking of Julep, we had Patrick Kelly on. All their runners, and a lot of them are from, across the seas. And these were the best of the best. They would go, one year they went to Julep and ate. I saw these guys, they weighed about 130 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
They ate 4 bowls of pasta apiece on the Friday to carb up for the marathon, like the 26, is it 26 miles?
I think so.
Yeah,
something like
26
that,
mile marathon, because everybody does the sticker, 26 or 13. Except Nathan McCarty did 0.
Mine says 0 too.
Yeah. I could see you two. Y'all are both kind of in the same vein. They ate 4 massive bowls of pasta the night before.
I mean, I've eaten
the Blues Marathon. That's what it was.
I've eaten 4 bowls of pasta, but then I didn't run the next day, so I don't know what that says about me. But I could do the 4 bowls of pasta part.
I'm gonna carb up just to do the show on Monday.
Woo! Do it. I mean, you got to.
Yeah,
you got to carb up all weekend so that you're ready to go.
You know what else I'm kind of craving is like a pizza from Enzo or lasagna from Bravo as far as carbs.
Yeah, I could do that.
Or maybe even a New York style Rikers Island from Sal and Mookie's.
I could do a big pizza.
Oh, I know what else. The loaded pizza from Fertizzi's.
Oh, I haven't been to Fertizzi's in so long.
You got to get a huge thing aside of red sauce, and then you also have to get the meatball and olive salad appetizer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
meatball and olive salad.
Oh, it'll make your toes twinkle.
Okay.
Yeah,
toes twinkle.
I mean, it'll be serious. Did you see here that it's National Game Show Day? And I was thinking, you've got Jeopardy, Price is Right, Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune. I mean, you had some big ones. So that was the thing. You missed some of that. But, man, When I was a kid in the early 80s, it was about soap operas when you were at home in the summer.
Game shows, yeah.
And game shows.
Oh, the game shows are still very so. Let's Make a Deal with Wayne Brady is still on. Price is Right is still on, although I don't remember who's hosting it now. Is it still Drew Carey? I think it is.
Is it?
I think so. I think so.
What
they
a
just
way
changed.
to make a living.
Yeah.
Pat Sajak is a genius.
Yes. Whose Line Is It Anyways was a game show that Drew Carey did before he went to Price is Right. Family Feud has been on my entire life.
Family Feud has been on forever.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things ever when I got YouTube TV was it has the Game Show Network on there, and I love game show. I'm very competitive, obviously, and I like games. I like competitive game shows, things like that, and so I love watching that stuff. What was the one where there was a big square board?
Let's Make a Deal?
No, big square board, whammy, and you hit the button and you didn't want to get a whammy. That was one that was super, super popular back in the day.
What about the Newlywed Game?
Yeah, I didn't watch that game, and I still really have. I think there's like variations of that now. I haven't watched that one though.
Win Ben Stein's money?
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I always was like, this isn't it. They would have these like neurosciences on and stuff like that, like engineers, like crazy smart people. I'm going, I could never do this one. The one, Jeff Foxworthy's coming to Pearl River soon.
Yeah.
And
I'm ready.
His show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, was very popular.
I remember that one.
Mid-2000s, I guess.
I remember that.
Yeah, very, very popular game show. Absolutely. I've always said I would love to be on a game show.
Foxworthy's made over $100 million being a comedian that doesn't cuss and doesn't tell dirty jokes and does all. I mean, he's a clean comic?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he's very PG.
I mean, and Ron White, he broke Ron White.
Yeah.
And Ron is totally opposite as far as language and
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of the way he's lived.
That's what made their foursome of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour so good, because all four guys, Ingval, Larry the Cable Guy, Ron White, and Foxworthy, they were all different styles, all different stylistically comics. And they had different levels of dirty and clean and things like that. So you got this great mix of style.
You're right,
and
Foxworthy would do it in a way that was very clever.
Well, the other guys did a great job.
It would still be a little risque, but he didn't drop F-bombs, and he wasn't drinking straight scotch like Ron White.
And when they would all four sit on the stage and do their because they would all four perform. Think about this. This is like going to see The Highwaymen, right? You were talking about this with Willie Nelson. If you went to the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, you got 4 individual acts, and then you got all 4 of them on stage as a group at the end. There's nothing better if you're a comedy fan. Like, that's awesome.
That's why Foxworthy was brilliant to do that.
They protected him. They would, if the things got a little risque, Jeff could play the good old boy shucks card, and the other 3 would step in and play over it, and you were able to keep Jeff's image clean because he was the face.
Can you believe we had Larry the Cable Guy on?
No, it was awesome.
Played at Pearl River Resort and Silver Star
Golden. It was incredible.
Casino
yeah,
Sportsbook.
That guy's awesome.
He is. He's awesome because he wears sleeveless shirts.
I'm like a fat Brett Favre.
Yeah. And
that was so good.
He looks like, he played at Warren Central or McGee.
Yeah.
In 87.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He did wherever he was, Nebraska or whatever. That he played the same
and he moved to Florida and moved back to Nebraska.
Yeah.
I want to go, why? But I get it. Everybody likes that. He's probably got 1,500 acres.
Big farm, yeah.
And a huge farmhouse that's absolutely beautiful. And, again, when you fly charter, why does it matter where you live?
There you go.
You can be wherever you need to be in an hour and a half.
You do what you want. Press Your Luck was the game I was thinking about. Whammo, whammy, whatever.
I remember that.
Deal or No Deal with Howie Mandel. I like that show. It's an interesting one.
He was a talented guy.
Yeah. Very, very talented. I'm trying to think of what else.
What did Bob Sajak do? I know he passed away last year. Blake, we were talking about his some of the things that he was so talented. So many of these guys are, I tripped up on a lot of these comedians. Some of them you knew about, but during COVID, Sebastian Maniscalco and Angela Johnson, and who is hilarious. She's the one that does the one nail thing. I love her. She is an absolute riot. Cute as can be. She's another one. She doesn't cuss. I mean, I cuss too much on the show, right? But she doesn't cuss. She's like Foxworthy.
Yeah.
But she can get a little edgy without doing it.
Correct. That's intelligent.
Yeah.
What about Pyramid? Did you watch the was it the $10,000 or $100,000 pyramid, whatever it's called?
I do remember it vaguely.
Yeah, they would put a celebrity and then and they would go back and forth. I always thought that was interesting because it was like a bunch of B-list celebrities. Now,
I mean, is there anything better than what Bob Barker, Pat Sajak, Drew Carey?
Oh yeah, Wheel of Fortune. We hadn't mentioned that one.
Well, I did earlier, but I mean, those guys knew they were in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, where really good actors sometimes go a while even without. I'm not talking about Tom Cruise, but really, really, really good who have made some money, but then they could go 18, 24, 30 months without, or 3 years without. Mm-hmm. Rob Lowe talks about he's worth over $100 million. He's like, you just don't ever know what's coming next. When you become a host of a show that makes it, I mean, you have money.
Yeah, you don't give that up. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know who's hosting the Pyramid now? Michael Strahan.
Strahan's a genius.
Well, he's made a ton of money off the field.
But it's because he's talented.
Yeah.
He's very, I tell you all the time.
It's enigmatic.
I love Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
Talking football.
Yeah, he's enigmatic.
I don't need Terry Bradshaw talking football.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want Strahan and Jimmy Johnson.
He's probably made way more money not talking about football post-career now at this point than he has
of course he has, but he still loves doing that because
why wouldn't you?
You're hosting a show and you're doing what you love. But if they just had Jimmy Johnson and Michael Strahan on the Fox show,
you'd be fine.
I'd be just fine with that.
Yeah. So here's one that I missed because it was pre my time, but I've always heard this was like one of the single most popular game shows ever, Hollywood Squares. Were you a Hollywood Square? Because it actually had celebrities that had value on it.
I was not. But you have to understand, I was never a TV kid, even in college.
Got you.
I couldn't stay in a chair on the couch that long. It's all I can do to sit here for 3 hours. And I can get up during the breaks, thank God.
Yeah, we call that undiagnosed ADHD.
Yeah, so I other than Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann.
That's so funny.
Okay. And Different Strokes and Miami Vice in the 80s when I was a kid, and Chicago Cubs and Atlanta Braves baseball. I would watch Dynasty in Dallas with my parents on Friday night when I was like 8 and 9. What was the one with the 3 women that were so funny? Golden Girls?
Yes.
And you know what you forget? Wendy and I had this conversation a couple of days ago as we were sipping on a little vino on the back porch because she pulled up a couple of clips. You forget how risque and edgy they were in a way that you couldn't do that today now because people live to be offended. But the Golden Girls, I mean, Blake,
it was disarming because it was 4 old women. That's why it was disarming. You were like, this isn't raunchy. It's
right.
4 old ladies.
But they were raunchy, risque, and edgy. Yeah. And but the writing, I don't even know who it was. The writing behind it was brilliant.
Oh yeah,
and they could pull off the lines.
Absolutely,
they had chemistry. It's what you and I talk about all the time.
No doubt.
It's like Arnett, Brock, and Barbet, and it's like Kiffin, Golding, and Weiss. You got to have chemistry.
Yep. Absolutely. Look, Saban's whole thing has been
the lack of chemistry post Kirby Smart and Scott Cochran leaving the Alabama football program.
Been very tough for Saban.
Has been extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I think Scott Cochran was the glue in the weight room where you spend 2,000 hours with the kids.
And the character builder.
Right.
Yep.
And Kirby was somebody who could handle Saban's insane pressure that he puts on the building every day.
Yeah.
And I think since then, he doesn't have either one. And when Scott Cochran left to join Kirby Smart at Georgia.
Big blow.
It may have been a bigger blow than we thought.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt the revolving door has been tough for Nick Saban because you can't develop anything with that little bit of time.
Right.
It's just impossible. And I think now more than ever before, people go into Alabama counting down the days when they're leaving Alabama. It didn't used to be that way.
I agree with that. McElwain could handle him, and Kiffin really couldn't, but Kiffin was successful.
He also knew he was not going to be there long.
Lane knew he was gone. Okay, Lane knew he was, and I don't blame Lane. I mean, he wanted to be a head coach. He is a head coach. He's a good head coach. Speaking of, Blake, there's a lot of chatter around Jake Gautreaux.
Who?
And he seems to be making several hot boards.
Central Florida?
Yeah. And you talking about a job that I think Jake Gautreaux and his wife, for our listeners, Gautreaux's the number 1 assistant at Mississippi State baseball. And he's been to 3 College World Series since he's been there. And he has a national championship. He's also, I'm sure, frustrated with what's happened, but he also brought in Ross Highfill, Dakota Jordan, Hunter Hines. You get the Mershon. You get the drill. Hey, Orlando, metro area, Sunshine State, Central Florida, they can match his salary. Most of these other teams can, unless has Georgia made a move? I haven't seen
I've not
it. They
seen
did
it yet. No.
Georgia would be smart to hire him too, but they can get a sitting head coach too. I don't know if it'll be like Campbell's head coach or something like that, but they're still good. We'll see what happens with Jake Gautreaux, Blake, as far as
what would you, if you were putting $100 down with Chris Hopwood at Pearl River, what would your bet be? He leaves or he stays? Real easy.
Stays.
Okay.
I would say leave if they hadn't had 2 bad seasons. But then if you told me in 5 minutes that Central Florida offered him the job, I would not be surprised. See, Jake, I've been around him a lot. He's really good, charismatic. So he's going to interview. I probably just went the wrong way. He is going to interview really well.
Yeah, and you know what Central Florida is now?
They're in the Big 12.
Big 12 job, exactly. It's not a G5 job. It's a Big 12 job.
And Jake has recruited Florida and Georgia and Bama and Mississippi and Louisiana. So that's all the places that you would.
You'll be playing in Texas, too, all the time, so you'll have that opportunity to recruit there.
Right. That's right. All right. What did I mention earlier? Boar's Head. It's a big Boar's Head weekend. Making sandwiches and nachos and go get some of that hummus and keep it cold. It's the number 1 selling hummus in the country. There's a reason. One, it's healthy. It's kind of like their deli meat. A lot of that slimy, terrible deli meat you get at the grocery stores, that's not Boar's Head. What do they say? Compromise elsewhere? Boar's Head premium meats, cheeses, and hummus for the big weekend at the beach, the pool, the lake, the river, or just the backyard. Boar's Head at any of your local grocery stores. Also, the show is brought to you by Core Cryotherapy and Wellness in the Township. Core Cryotherapy and Wellness in the Township. I went by yesterday and did cryotherapy, and it had been a while. It is awesome. I'm going back in the next few days. Makes you feel so much better. It's good for you. Core Cryotherapy and Wellness. They also have the IV therapies. It's in the Township across from Sombra. Core Cryotherapy and Wellness. Hour number 2, Steve Robertson coming up next.